All right, then. That's my intro for episode 2 of Egg Rolls. Today's going to be a Philly cheesesteak egg roll. It's going to have some aged provolone, some red onion.
He's lying to you.
No, I'm not lying. This is staying. All right. So, like I said, this is episode 2. It is going to be the Philadelphia cheesesteak egg roll. It's going to be made with pheasant. I have my pheasant from yesterday.
I can't believe it's live.
Can you believe what I have to put up with? All right.
I can, and it's very great.
Go away now. Cast iron on. High heat. We're going to let it warm up. I got the box grater for this. For the pheasant, it's going to be nothing more than salt and pepper. Because that's all I generally put on my cheesesteaks when I make a cheesesteak. And you don't mind it being a bit over seasoned because some of it's going to fall off. But it's not going to be a big deal. So what we're going to do, we're going to cook these pheasants almost all the way through. And then what we're going to do is let them rest and cool down on the side. I've done it before with the mix when I was in a rush and doing different caterings and chef services. And what tends to happen if the mix is too hot, the dough for the egg roll wrappers, it's basically just rice flour and water is how they make those wrappers. And it kind of falls apart with the heat. So it makes your job that much more difficult. So once we get this cooked, we're going to let it sit aside. All right, I just picked up some olive oil from the cabinet. Just a little, maybe a teaspoon and a half, nothing much. Now you're just going to coat it. And now the pan should be hot. As you can see, the color's starting to change. See how this is actually sitting up? So these are going to be ready. See how you get that nice color? And this is just the meat and seasoning. And now, since you're flipping it over, nobody's ever going to see that because that would be on the plate if this was going to be presented as the breast. But being that this is going to be chopped up, it's not going to matter. But not only looks, doing this caramelization on the meat actually gives it that much more flavor. So we're going to hang out about another 3 minutes, get this to cook, and then we're going to cook it just like the traditional egg roll from yesterday. We actually took that almost, I said 75%, but it was probably about 95% done. We're going to do the same thing with this pheasant. We're going to let it cool. We're going to mix it in with the mozzarella. When we go to the next step, I'll start shredding the provolone and we'll stick it in the cheese. I just want to see how much pheasant, after I cut it up and shred it, put it in with the mozzarella, I want to know how much provolone I'm adding because this is a pretty strong provolone and you don't want to go too much. You want the flavors to marry well, not one overpower the other. You want a nice balance. So we'll be back. I'm going to watch my pheasant. All right, so we're back. I'm looking at this pheasant. It's still cooking. The heat is high. I'm about 4 minutes into cooking this pheasant total. And I'm going to turn it down. I'm just going to shut it off and let it sit. Because when I flip it over, this is actually the biggest breast that's there. It's already fully cooked on the other side. I'm sorry, not fully cooked, but it is seared. And I don't want to get any more color on it than that. I don't want it to burn. So I'm actually going to take the smaller pieces. I don't want them to overcook. I'm going to take them, put them on top of the bigger breasts. It's just sizzling too much. And I don't want this pheasant to be, if you could leave it on there, but what's going to happen is this pheasant is going to become dry. And that you don't want dry inside of the egg roll. All right, so what we're going to do with the provolone, we're going to take it out of the pack. And it smells good, nice and sharp. We have the skin right here. I'm going to cut it away. That way I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do, this was 1 piece. This whole thing was 8 ounces. So I'm going to use about 4 ounces of, just a hair under 4 ounces of aged provolone. I think that will be safe enough to start with the pheasant we have. And it's just making sure I'm on the camera here and just grating it up. It's pretty crumbly cheese. I'm surprised. I thought it would hold together a little better, but as you can see, some of the pieces are flaking off. I'm gonna get that. I actually think that's going to be more than enough cheese. I might have to do that in a different different bowl just to be sure. So for the onion, cut both ends off, slide it in half. So basically it was a quick slice, and now I'm just holding it together. And you want it pretty small, and this is a small chop, but I'm going to go a little bit more. I keep pressure on this, and I use the knife tip as a rock, and it just chops. So I'm literally 2 fingers, basically. This is just to put my finger somewhere, but these 2 are actually holding the knife, and you just curve the knife in its spot. And then you just do it again. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to mix all these ingredients. Not yet. I'm going to get another bowl. I'm going to pull my pheasant out of the refrigerator. And again, just like the onion, I'm going to sit there, curl my fingers in. This one is going to be like a long kind of cut. You want to push the knife. It'll cut through. Make sure you're going through it. Okay, so if you don't mind washing dishes and doing a lot of different things, you see this is taking a while, and I don't, excuse me, and I know that what I'm going to do is speed this up so you're not falling asleep on me or leaving. Instead of chopping this by hand, if you didn't want to do this, you could actually take it, cut it up into large cubes, run it through your food processor, and you can get similar results. You're not going to have squares and chunks, but it's going to look more like shredded meat. But beware, if you pulse it too many times in the food processor, you are going to get, like, it's going to turn into dough and too mushy and won't be as good. You want to get somewhere between shreds and little mini chunks. All right. So I'm taking a cutting board. I'm moving it about that far off of the lip so I can stick part of the bowl underneath. I'm just going to take a little bit and slide it in. This way the bowl isn't on the edge. You don't have to do any fancy different things. You don't need a a pastry scraper. The chef and his knife are basically one unit, and that's it. Everything's in the cutting bowl. Everything is in the bowl. Nothing's on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 2 to maybe 3 pheasants in here for breast wise. So that would be 6 fillets. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go back and look at that, and I'll amend that later when I look back on the cast iron pan. But with the tenders and the breast, I think it was a total of 3 birds. Could have been 2, but I think it was 3 birds. So now I have that. I have half an onion diced. I have about 3/4 of a cup of mozzarella, and then you saw 4 ounces of Parmesan cheese. The pheasant, I did salt, pepper, and olive oil, and I seared it. So those are the ingredients so far. Now this is something I've started doing over the years. I put a piece of plastic wrap over top of the plate. Sometimes the spring roll wrappers, depending on the humidity, the temperature of your kitchen, they kind of like to stick on the plates, and then they start to rip, and then it becomes a nuisance to try and fry them, and then you're trying to piece all the rips and the holes together. I line it with plastic wrap. I don't let the egg roll wraps, the egg rolls themselves, touch each other. So there's always a space in between all the egg rolls. That way they don't get the moisture. They don't draw them from each other. They would tend to stick that way too. And if I did multiple layers, so if I had this plate full of egg roll and I still had another plate full to go, but I didn't want to dirty another plate, I would put a piece of plastic wrap over top of that one, and then I would go ahead and put the next layer of egg rolls on, keeping the space in between. Our wrappers from yesterday. And if you didn't see that, I'm going to put a link, or at least the video from yesterday's, onto this one as well. So you'll be able to click and see that one if you didn't see it. There's 2 sides. This side has a lot of rice flour on it. This side doesn't. So when I do it, I find the side with the most rice flour, and I put that side down. I want this to be on the inside. And then I take my egg wash. I get it so that I just pretty much basically, now it's just easy. I brush all 4 sides. That way I'm covered. I know it sticks. And you can put as much or as little, as long as you're not overstuffing it. You can make them fat egg rolls. You can make them skinny egg rolls. I like bringing the edges over, bringing this side in, tucking and pulling it in like a burrito is basically what you're doing. And then you're rolling it so the egg seals that shut. You guys seen all this? I'm going to finish all this. I'll let you know what the final count is. I'm going to speed this up to get through it, and then we're going to get frying. Hey, welcome back. So, I got 2 more to wrap. This mix was more than enough to do 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 10. I put a piece of plastic wrap, and like I said, I got 2 more to do. So that's a total of 12 egg roll. And for that mix, that would be enough. I think a pack of egg roll wrappers are somewhere between 15 and 20. So those 4 breasts, the 4 ounces of provolone, the 3/4 cup of mozzarella, and half of a red onion should be more than enough to make 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and take care of 1 full pack of the wraps. And then you can adjust. You can, if you watch how you're doing it, you can adjust and put a little bit less in each to stretch it. If there was 20 wrappers in the pack, you'd be able to stretch it and go. Today I'm going to use the thermometer. I'm going to get it right at 350 degrees and start cooking. when you saw that first episode with the egg rolls, I didn't get a consistent color on all. I think I did 9 egg rolls yesterday. I didn't get a consistent color because I wasn't able to monitor the heat. That's the only difference between using a thermometer and not using a thermometer with your oil. It's much harder to maintain the temperature level. So if it's too hot, it's going to brown up, and you'll see if you go back and you watch that episode, you'll see some of the egg rolls were too dark, and some of them were the right golden color. They weren't burnt, but they were. I wouldn't have gone any further with that with the color, because then they would be burnt and it would be pretty bad. So let's check the oil, see what we're at. All right, we're just at about 250. So we're going to wait a few more minutes. I got my tongs. I'm going to bring in my same drip tray I used yesterday. We're going to wait a few more minutes. So we're going to I'm going to do the magic thing, clip all this out. All right, we're up and running. I just checked my oil as I was putting the camera in. We're at 353. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting my egg rolls in. I'm going to turn the temperature up just a little bit, because with the cold egg rolls, I'm going to be dropping the actual temperature of the oil. And then this whole process, since we saw it on the first episode, I'm going to kind of speed this up. We're going to watch it in fast motion. While I'm doing that, I'm going to have one container right here of just ketchup, and this one I'm going to make with a sweet chili. So let's do that now, actually. And get it going. This is a container of my ploy. It's a sweet chili sauce. I take it. I like it. It has a little bit of heat to it, but it's on the low end, so it's just a little bit of spicy. It's a good all-around chili sauce for people who can't really take the heat. I'm probably doing 4 tablespoons of the chili sauce and to about half a cup of ketchup. I'm going to flip my egg rolls over. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit because it's just barely bubbling. And you see how much lighter in color they are? Perfect. So it's been about a minute and a half, close to 2 minutes on the egg rolls. I'm just going to check the oil temp while they're in there. It's not bubbling quite where I thought it was. So it says I'm at 360 degrees. So it just seems like it's bubbling a little low, like slower. It's not like it was yesterday, but I'm gonna turn the temperature down just a little bit since I'm I don't want to be over 375. That's the limit on where I like to fry. And this one is right at 360. So you want to try and keep it at 350. But we are just about done with this first three. And you can see the difference once you know the temperature of how golden they are. And let's see if I can do the rest of them the same. Looks like it's hardly bubbling. This isn't 373. So it is definitely hot enough. And I'm going to turn it back down. And I'm starting to smell the actual provolone. So I'm going to pull these. You can hear the moisture. One of them opened up. That's actually the liquid coming out of the egg roll. That's what's making that popping sound. So if you hear that, you know one of the seams opened up. Not a bad thing, but you don't want too much water in there because then it can get dangerous. And now it just has the normal sizzle again. Now, if you were doing this for a party, I'm just sitting here thinking while I have some time. If you wanted to do this as a party, but you didn't want to fry it and do this kind of thing while you have guests, you can actually set it up on the rack like this to drain. Let it cool, put it in your refrigerator, and then bring it back to a similar kind of tray with a rack so that it has air underneath it and all around. You want to keep them spaced apart. You can have all this done the day before the party, early in the morning. If your party's at night, stick it in your refrigerator. And then when you're ready to, like 15 minutes before you're ready to serve this, you can have this whole tray filled with egg rolls. Stick it in your oven. If you have a convection button on your oven, turn the fan on. If not, I would do it at 375 plain with no fan. If you did have a convection fan, I would do it at 350 with that fan and reheat this. You can reheat it from refrigerator cold, what is that, like 38 degrees, probably in 10 minutes. And then you would have nice crispy egg rolls. Probably what you want to do in 5 minutes, flip them over and then put them back in for the last 5 for the 10 minutes. And then you'll be able to serve it and it should be just as crunchy. So that's the color I'm looking for. I'm going to flip this over one more time. It won't be as long. You get my next 3. In the restaurant industry, this is called quality control. And it's also called burning your mouth. That is good. And hot too. All right. You always want to cook more than, obviously, if you're tasting it and testing it, which I'm sacrificing this one. But you always want to have a few extra on hand other than what you know you want to serve, just for the simple reason you want to enjoy yourself. Right in between where I want to on the high side. I'm at 367. So that's pretty good. I got 3 more to go. But as you can see, ooh, that's hot. Compared to yesterday, all the color is uniform throughout the whole thing now with a thermometer. That's the difference. You can do it without a thermometer, but it's a lot harder, a lot trickier. Maintaining temperature, you get a consistent product. If you guys stuck with me to the end, thank you. This episode was the Philly cheesesteak egg roll. It was made with pheasant. We made a spicy Thai ketchup, and it was fun. Hope you liked it. On to the next one.